Hi everyone, welcome to the second video on how to create your own jQuery plugin. In the previous video, I left off explaining to you how to create the utility function or the property of the jQuery object that will become then the core of your jQuery plugin. You create the utility function like this, $, dot, you assign the name of the utility function, you attach a function like a delegate, like a pointer to this function, to that property, and then that property could be executed from outside after, of course, referring having a reference to your JS file, the one that contains your plugin. So I was explaining earlier that this ID, the one that has the button, when I click on the button, is actually tied to the control that I'm going to create as my plugin. So this should not be like that, because this is actually referring internally. What if someone does not have an ID called click modal that actually refers to a particular button that I'm going to click? So how do I do this? Maybe if I want to refer to another button, an image, that when I click on an image, the modal pops up. Well, how do I do this? I can pass another variable into this into the decoder's modal box in the JSON object that I'm passing as a parameter. So I can pass an additional parameter, an additional property. So I'm going to call it click item, and I'm going to pass any ID. In this case, it will be the ID click modal. If you could designate like an image that will be clicked, so you put an ID to this image and you pass it to this property here. So I'm going to say that I'm going to designate this button to be click modal. So whenever I click on this button, or any the ID of the designated object that I'm going to click on, that's when the modal window is going to show up. So I'm going to say that is click modal. So right now I think I'm all set. Now I have to go to the other end and also do this thing. So going back to my to the jQuery plugin, here I have click modal. I cannot have this. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna consume the property that I passed through my settings. I'm gonna call it click object equals settings dot click item. Let's make sure that it's the same name. So I say click item, and I'm gonna say settings dot click item, and that's exactly what I'm going to consume on this end. So the click object is actually the ID of that object that I designated to be the clickable item. So I'm gonna put it right here. So whenever I click, whenever a jQuery finds that ID, it will attach the clicking functionality to it, and then it will just fade in the modal for us. So this way, I think we ensure a better, a loosely coupled design in our jQuery, in the creation of a jQuery plugin. So coming back over here to index, what we need to do now is just drag the CSS that contains all my styles, that will position, that will put the overlay, that will repeat the background image and make the overlay over the top, over the whole page. It will put the top image, the repeat image, the close button, the bottom image, and it will make it look like a nice modal window. And then it's just going to display it for us. So why don't we just take this for a test? Let's just run it. I'm going to browse with I'm going to designate Firefox as my default browser, and I'm going to browse. Why don't we take a look? And then if I click on this, then I should be able to get the plugin should be running. So if I just as you can see, the cursor pointer style was designated on the close button. If I close, it just fades out. If I click on the button, it fades in. So let's continue with this. As you can see, the decoder's modal box was passed a JSON object, an object with a JSON format, in which I passed these three variables, these three properties within my object. Then this object actually consumed this information and displayed it over here. So remember, there is a property called content, which is actually appended to the message box content, which was a div that is actually within the repeated image. As you can see over here, is just a div within the repeated image, and whenever the repeated image, this div will receive some content, some text. Whatever I pass into it is going to grow lengthwise. It's going to grow from top to bottom because the image will repeat along the height of the div, and is just going to accommodate any text that I pass to it. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna pass some text in here. As you can see, content hello. This is the text that I'm passing, and then I should be able to pick it up on the other end. Why don't we try something else? Let's try to pass like some HTML markup into it. So I'll say hello. I'll just pass some bold from within the modal window. Let's just run this again. And when I click here, I should be able to see that. I am able to pass within this div anything I want. I can pass like a reference to a video. I can pass more HTML. I can pass an iframe. I can pass anything into it because it will just be injected within this div. As you can see, is just now a matter of you providing this modal box folder, which contains the CSS, the one that designates my overlay, my images, and everything. The images, which contains the images that I'm going to use as part of this resource, and the jQuery.dearcoders.modal.js file, the JS file that constitutes my plugin. Now, let's say if you want to bring more functionality into it, then it's up to you. Let's say you want to make the modal window, you want to make it draggable. Let's say in this case, right now I'm dragging on my window and nothing happens. It's just static. It just shows in the middle because of the CSS that I placed. If you want to add more functionality, maybe you want to bring more like other like jQuery files. In this case, you would need the jQuery UI component, which I have it over here. Which right now is at version 1.8.15. So I'm just gonna drag it into my scripts folder, and I'm gonna make it available to my page. So the jQuery UI contains a whole bunch of functions, contains a lot of utilities as well that make your UI a lot more responsive, a lot more interactive with the user. So in the case of this, I'm going to come inside my plugin, and if I just want to make that window, so when I click on this when I click on any button that will activate the window and the window shows, I want to make it draggable. So how do I do that? Just by bringing the reference up to the jQuery UI component, part of the jQuery, I can just say $, the ID of the div that contains the message box, which is called MSG box. As you can see here, MSG box, so it's the one that contains the whole window. So I'm going to say MSG box dot draggable. By just making it draggable, that is a function that is available within the jQuery the jQuery UI plugin that I just brought in, and is available for me just by attaching that function into that by calling that function on this ID, on this object that I found. So why don't we try this? I execute this, and by just clicking on the window and making it draggable, I should be able to drag. As you can see, I can just drag it around just because I made it draggable. You can extend this component, you can add buttons, you can add like callbacks. I'm just going to show you real quick how to use this callback that I assigned to it. For example, let's say if you want to pass the modal callback, so when you close the window, something happens. You can just provide maybe whatever you want. You can pass like a function right here. I can say function my callback, and let's say this function will execute after, let's say after it fades out or it fades in, whatever you want to do. So in this case, I'm going to say an alert box, and I'm going to say hello, or just like executed. So what do I do? Into this modal callback of into this property, I'm just gonna pass a reference to this callback over here. So I could just say my callback. This way I'm actually passing a reference to this method, and this method will be executed from within my plugin. So after it fades out or it fades in, this callback will be executed. So let's try this one. So if I click, I get the method, I get the method gets executed. I get the alert box. If I close, I also get it. So if you want to extend it again, you can use it. Feel free to use the jQuery Dear Coders modal box. You can add like an OK and a cancel button, and then you can append like your own function callbacks or whatever you want. Like whenever someone clicks the OK or the yes or the no or something like that, you can do whatever you want. But this is a really good way of extending your own libraries. Be creative, collaborate with the community, just brag about your jQuery plugin so you can do this. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity of showing you how to create your own jQuery plugins. Stay tuned for more jQuery videos. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much and have a great day.